Coming up next on Authentic Stories by Sue Maud. Everyone has a story to tell. Stay tuned and let's talk about it. Wadii Ben-Hirki, a young girl from Nigeria who started as a gender equality activist at the age of 16. She is the founder of Wadi Ben-Hirki Foundation, which has the objective to impact the lives of the less privileged, the marginalized, and the disadvantaged groups through humanitarianism and advocacy. On Authentic Stories today, we have a young lady called Wadi Ben-Hirki. She's from Nigeria. She is a gender equality activist and has her own NGO called Wadi Ben-Hirki Foundation, which focuses on improving the lives of the marginalized and the disadvantaged groups through humanitarianism and advocacy. She has a fantastic story. Let's listen to her story. Welcome on board this interview.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm honored to have you here, actually. So you are a gender equality activist, and you started this journey when you were only 16.
Yes.
Something must have touched your heart to start at such an early age. What was it that touched your heart?
So time really flies, right? Because recently I was like, I'm 25, like where did time go? But then whenever I think about it, I know that it's because of my background. I'm from northern Nigeria, and I think that has really shaped my life. And northern Nigeria is a very interesting place. We have a lot of good sides, beautiful people, diverse culture, and all of that. But I think some of the major issues around gender discrimination and bias are really, really prevalent there. So growing up, it was really tough seeing many young girls like myself married off as a result of extreme poverty or cultural, practices. And so it just really made me think, like, what can I do? So I was always frustrated, but I was young, I didn't know what to do. And so many other things, kept piling up and building up. But what really struck was the Chibok girls. I'm sure the whole world heard about the kidnap of the Chibok girls in 2014. So prior to that incident, I was volunteering, and my family, every holiday, every Christmas, we always used to go to like orphanage homes and all. So my parents built that practice for us, giving back in our own little way. But then I always did that, and volunteering with a few other organizations back home. But then after the kidnap of those girls, then I think I was 16 or 17. And that was their age range as well. And I was like, it could have been anybody. No one should go to school without assurance of going back home. And there I was in my second year in university, not scared of what tomorrow had for me, not scared that I'll be kidnapped, but it really just built up that anger in me. And I'm like, let me just do something. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, just take the first step. And that was what brought about the creation of Wadi Ben-Hirki Foundation.
Okay, that sounds amazing. Can you explain what exactly happened to these girls? Who were they kidnapped with and why?
So there are a lot of stories around it, and we know how there's a lot of, they call it conspiracy theory. But all I know is that many times there are a lot of maybe attacks on schools, by different groups, and this particular one, it was the Boko Haram that they said kidnapped them, and all of that. They were from Chibok. That's why it's called Chibok girls. And Chibok is in northeastern Nigeria, where I come from as well. So, like I said, there are a lot of theories around it. But I think one side of it is that they wanted to maybe make a statement, a strong statement to the government. I don't know. Another side of it is that they don't want girls going to school, and why are these girls, going to school? So let's take them. So there are a lot of, conspiracies around it, but I would say Northeast Nigeria is a place that has been stricken by a lot of insurgency for about 2 decades now, because since 2002. So there are a lot of things around it, but I think the first would say is girls shouldn't go to school, and another is around the whole attacks and making a strong statement to the government.
So if girls shouldn't go to school, what's their objective then? What are they supposed to do?
So this is like one question that a lot of people ask. I've asked myself, but I think it's maybe a lot of intersecting things. You know, one side where people are like, religion plays a role, and I wouldn't even say any particular religion. Generally, people always say that there's a lot of bias, that religion, there's an undertone to it. So different religions say different things, and maybe the man is this, the woman, this hierarchy. So many people use that as a reason why they feel, okay, women, your place is at home, it's in the kitchen, it's in grooming children. So people say that. Another side to it is culture, and this is something that people say, culture is so sacred and should not be challenged. But my question is, it's human beings that brought about this culture, right? So it's human beings that can change it. We make it seem like something that we just found. No, people brought about these things and they were passed on to generations. So culture is another reason why people say, oh, girls shouldn't go to school. They should be at home and all of that. So these are some of the, conversations that are being held back home, and I would say in many other parts of the world.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you, because there are many theories, there are many conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. But some of these girls, or rather the girls who get captured, do they get married away while they're still very young? And if yes, how old are they?
So the thing is, the Chibok girls and the Dapchi girls, few years later. So Dapchi girls were kidnapped a few years after Chibok, But these are just some of the girls that that made it to the news. There are many others that we probably will never hear about them being kidnapped, which is really worrisome, right? Seeing that hundreds of people are kidnapped and nothing happens. So I think what happens is, based on what I've read and what I've heard, is that they're married off. Some of them make it alive, some of them don't, and some of them are married off, and then the whole goal is for them to keep reproducing more children. So that's what people think women are for, just to keep reproducing children. Mm. Is it baby making machines, they say? So unfortunately, that's what women have been reduced to in many parts of that region and across the world.
Okay. So out of all this, or rather based on all this, you decided to start an NGO. Mm-hmm. And what was the objective, or rather what is the main objective of the NGO?
So for me, I would say the vision is, this sounds cliche, but a world where no woman or child is left behind in the grand scheme of things. We are trying to create a place, a country, a region, and a world, trying to contribute our quota to ensuring that everybody has a fighting chance in life. And so the objectives, firstly, is making sure that, gender equality is achieved. It seems like a long journey, of course, but then gender equality is achieved. And for us, it's not even the bigger things. We're starting from the little things where girls should just be able to speak without fear, where they can achieve their goals, go to school, just dream big without any form of hesitation or of fear. And then where people who are affected by insurgency and violent extremism, are rehabilitated, given psychosocial support, because it's a lot of trauma they're going through. I wouldn't say I've experienced directly, but I would say growing up in that region has exposed me to some hard times, and it's not a good thing for anyone to go through. And so seeing young children exposed to such hardships, we're trying to help rehabilitate them, provide as little as food, clothing, shelter, things that may seem normal, but it's now like a gift for them, and just generally help to create a stable and equitable world. Yeah.
So basically, the efforts that you're doing, your foundation, do you feel that it is impacting positively around the world, with it to, the girls around the world who of course come from countries which are facing the same challenges as the girls in northern Nigeria?
So I would say yes, because of course, like I said, it's a youth-led organization, and we're still small and growing. However, we've been able to, foster collaborations and partnerships with people, other youth-led organizations in different countries, to work together to execute projects that are alike. For example, we have the Girls Not Wives project, which simply says, these are girls and they're not wives. They shouldn't be married off. They should be given, opportunities to lead fulfilled lives. So I would say yes. And in an individual capacity, I've been able to work with quite a couple of organizations, on different campaigns and projects that I would say have like huge impact globally. The first one is One Campaign. It's an international non-partisan organization that is present in practically all continents in the world. So I served as a champion, more like a youth ambassador for 2 years with them. And I would say it was really a great experience for me because that was in 2017 to 2019. And there was a lot of, progress that I would say that was made. The first was the Girls Count campaign that I was a part of, started from, of course, my region, but that gave me opportunity to attend the Global Partnership for Education Financing Conference in Dakar in 2018, and there I was privileged to be interviewed by Al Jazeera, BBC, and a couple of other media houses internationally to speak up about what we're doing in Nigeria. And of course, because youth were present at the meeting, and it was good because it was not a thing of, it wasn't like a form of tokenism, but we were very much involved, and, what we came up with, I would say like a document and our recommendations to the governments present, both the donor countries and the recipient countries. I would say that it's been able to help many more girls, across the world access education. I was also in 2017 the focal point for Canada High Commission She Can Lead campaign in Nigeria, and of course working with the High Commissioner there, went to communities to see what people were doing. So that's northern Nigeria, but because of that project I was able to work with many others, and attend a couple of meetings with UN Women, with the AU, and a couple of other platforms where I've been able to speak up about some of the challenges that women and girls face, and to help provide sustainable solutions and realistic context-based solutions to those problems. And then in recent times, just last year, of course, the documentary isn't out there yet, but then I was featured in the Women of Wonder documentary for Dubai Expo 2020, the Women Pavilion in partnership with Cartier. Yeah. Thank you. And through that project, of course, many people are caring about what we're doing, but I'm able to speak. So like I said, of course, I would say this journey has been challenging, but it's also been worth the while because I've seen a lot of great progress that has been made, not just in Nigeria, but globally, at different platforms that I've been privileged to go to Y20 Summit in Argentina, to mention just a few. Wow. So I would say that
I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed.
Thank you so much.
Good. You're doing amazingly well.
Thank you very much. So I would say yes. And then lastly, to mention one of the initiatives that is really, really amazing, to answer your question. So it's called the Gender at the Center Initiative, GCI, and it was, I would say, formulated or created in 2019, the G7 Education Development Ministerial meeting that was held in 2019. So it brought about the launch of the GCI.
Where was it held?
So I'm not certain where it was held, to be honest. Okay. I can't, but then I know it was 2019, and it brought about the birth of the GCI, the Gender at Center Initiative. And how I was part of it is there was a GRESP workshop. So GRESP stands for Gender Responsive Education Sector Planning. So GRESP workshop, it was held in Abuja, and a lot of partners were there, stakeholders from the government, ministries, donor organizations and countries like the GPE, then of course UNESCO, UNGAID as UN Girls Education Initiative, and many other organizations, technical partners, and all of that. And so young people too. I was part of the youth who were selected to attend the meeting, and then we helped to see what was going on, and then how to achieve gender equality in education and through education. So that was how I started being a part of it. Yes. So the GCI in Nigeria is made up, they have a consortium made up of 3 organizations. The first is FAWE, which is Forum for African Women Educationalists. The second is Plan International. And the third is SAKEFA, that's Civil Society Action Coalition on Education for All. So these organizations are helping to ensure that there's gender equality in education, and then our educational sector is not just responsive, but hopefully transformative. So this is one project that I would say I've been a part of, and it's currently being implemented in 8 countries in Africa, and we're hoping that it expands to other countries. So these are some of the ways in which I would say I've been privileged to help influence gender equality advocacy, not just in my country, but around the world.
Wow. Thank you. You know, girl, I'm sitting here and what you're saying is just mind-blowing. Because when I think of how young you are, you're only 25.
Yes.
It's mind-blowing. It's so amazing what you're doing. Keep on doing the good job. It's amazing.
Thank you very
much. But the journey, I have read some of your articles, and one of the things you mention is that in the beginning, you know, no one was listening to you. They were not hearing your voice. But by the end of the day, they're now hearing your voice. How has that journey been from being a person that no one was listening to and becoming a person that is actually internationally known, and you're helping girls? How does that feel?
So I would say it feels good, but also feels like there's some pressure as well. So I will talk about both sides. So there's 2 sides of the coin. On the one hand, I'm very happy, I'm very thankful, because I would say it's a privilege, you know, that I'm given opportunities that will not just, this is the literal, I stand as one or I come as one, but I'm standing or speaking for thousands, and in this context, millions of people.
Yes.
Yeah, so, or dare I say billions of women and girls around the world. So it's really great. I mean, starting, it was quite tough, but I would say that it's only normal that many times people want to just see what you're up to first before they commit, I guess. Sometimes they want to see if, does this person even know what they're doing? Or in my own situation, like, what's this young girl doing? What does she think she's doing? Because I officially started the organization when I was 18, but then a few years before, of course, I was into a lot of volunteering and advocacy work. So I would say that then it was tough. It's still tough because I'm still trying to get more people to support our cause and all of that. But I think the journey so far is what keeps me going, knowing that I started from somewhere and I'm here, and, you know, it only gets better, hopefully. So it's really great. I'm happy. I'm thankful, knowing that, like I said, when I speak, people are listening, and people that matter in the grand scheme of things, people that can make change in the world, people that, you know, one action that they take, you know, causes a great shift, you know. So knowing that, yes, I have access to these people, I'm really grateful for that. And I'm just always reminded not to take that for granted, and to always remember why I'm doing what I'm doing and how it matters, how a lot of lives will be changed and impacted, you know, directly or indirectly because of what I do. So it always puts me in check to know that, you know, don't mess this up. Any opportunity you're given, you should make use of that to the best of your ability.
Yes, absolutely. You're very right about the fact that don't take it for granted. That's a very good mindset to have. So it's very true that you shouldn't take everything for granted. So who exactly is it who tells you not to take this for granted?
So I would say the first person is myself. I'm someone who I talk to myself a lot, you know, and I try to like call myself out, you know, and I'm like, okay, are you doing this right? Are you doing that wrong? And what is the motive? What is the intention for what you do? People would always judge, people would always, have their own mindset, or, translate what you're doing into whatever, or, they will judge you, good or bad, but at the end of the day, as long as you know that the intentions are pure, and you're doing it for the right reasons, then that's good, I think. So the first person is myself. Second, I would say my family and my friends, they're people who talk to me a lot. And whenever I have those imposter syndrome moments or doubts, they always try to, remind me that you can do this. And, whenever I feel maybe tensed, when I have an opportunity and I'm like, will I do well? Will I not do well? They're always cheering me on. And they always remind me as well that this is not just for you. This is for many other people. And remind yourself why you started what you're doing in the first place. Another set of people, of course, I would say people I look up to. Some of them I know them, some of them I don't. But I try to I watch a lot of videos and documentaries of people who have gone ahead, and achieved and are successful and have made impact. And successful not necessarily only just financially, but successful in terms of, doing what they love and helping other people in their little ways. So these are also people that, keep me in check, mentors, coaches, you name it. So that's one side of it, reminding myself that I should do this and not blow it, because when I'm given a chance and I do well, it opens up opportunities for many others. But if I don't do well, it may actually shut down opportunities for other people, that are coming after me. So that's one side of the coin.
And that's a great responsibility, isn't it? That's what you were mentioning earlier, that it does come with a great responsibility, even though it's so successful.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the other side of the coin. There's a lot of pressure, pressure, whether internally or externally, pressure that, am I doing it well? Pressure that what you say sometimes, people would take it up and they would do whatever they want to do. Sometimes it may not be what you intended, but for their own motives, they could, change it to something else. And a lot of pressure as well, in terms of how you live your life. From 2019 to date, I would say the way I'm out there is not as much as before. And sometimes I miss being out there, being very frequent online. But sometimes I don't, because it's helping with my sanity and my mental health. Because I see the benefits of being out there, being, all over the place. It comes with great opportunities. But on the flip side is that sometimes if you can't handle it, it actually takes a huge toll on you. So that's another side of it, where something happens, they're like, you didn't talk about it, this, that. And when you talk, they're like, you didn't say it the way, people just want to control what you say, how you act. I can't even live normally, Now it has reduced because I'm not as frequent online, and I'm trying to get back there gradually again, because now I found mechanisms and how to make it work, to draw the line, and protect my space. But that's another side of it, where for everything that happens, people want to hear what you have to say about it. And sometimes I'm like, I don't even have anything to say. You don't always have to. And maybe I'm just not comfortable saying it out there. Maybe I'm saying it behind the scenes or something. But people just want to know everything, which isn't bad. But sometimes they don't know where to draw the line. So that's another side to it. I've been, I would say, harassed online sometimes. Got a couple of DMs. So there was a time that some things were happening, back home, and I think it was 2020, during lockdown period, the beginning of the lockdown, the start of the whole COVID lockdown, and there were a lot of issues around harassment. A lot of people were victimized. A lot of girls were raped then, and people were speaking up for justice. And it was really, really traumatic, I think one or two, there were situations where they even died, It was very tough. And
this is not in northern Nigeria?
No, this was generally in different parts of the country. And this is what happens every time, and we speak up. We get a lot of DMs and messages, this person needs help, that person. And because we have little capacity for now to do everything. We have a list of bigger organizations, more established, more funded ones. We have their list, and sometimes when people reach out and we can't directly help, the ones we can help, we do. The ones we can't, we give them the list, like reach out to these organizations, But then the thing was triggering because it was bringing up like a lot of memories that I did not want to think about in this whole conversation. So then a lot of things were triggering and I couldn't handle it, so I went offline. Because people forget that even when you're advocating for or against things, you are also an individual. And some of these things might trigger you as well. But they want you to put up this whole superpower,
attitude
and
yeah.
like you don't have emotions as well. Like you cannot feel hurt as well, So I really say kudos to a lot of celebrities and people out there because it's not easy. Me, I'm not even a celebrity in that sense, and I know what kind of harassment I face, talking of people that are really out there. Like, it's tough. So back to what I'm saying, I was saying that it was really tough and triggering, and I went offline.
Yes. But how do you handle it? Do you have any specific ways of handling it? Because you are right, it's a lot of pressure. How do you handle that pressure?
So that was what I did then. What I thought was the best thing for me was to go off social media because it was triggering and a lot of people wanted to hear what I had to say. And then I didn't have anything to say directly because I was trying to, it was tough, reading the stories, watching videos and knowing that these are people's lived realities. It was really, really tough. But the foundation, my organization was putting out things, online, talking about it, in solidarity with other people, speaking against it, calling for justice and all. But a few people, because I did not speak directly, they had a problem. So I got a lot of DMs, now that it's time for you to speak, why are you not speaking? This, one, that. It was just a lot. And so now the mechanisms that I've put in place is that now if I'm not following you, I don't see your DM directly. It goes under message request. So that's one way, people can't just message me directly. It goes under request, and when I go through and I see it's just, I don't bother, And another thing is...
That's a very good idea because that puts a lot of pressure away from you.
From me, yes, thank you. And generally, I just take it easy, and I know that people will always think what they want to think. As long as I know what I'm doing and I'm doing my best, that's what matters. Another thing is I just take it easy on myself because I'm one who wants to save everybody, but I'm like, you can't. You cannot pour out of an empty cup. You have to preserve your mental health. You have to take care of yourself before you give out to the world. How can you save the world when you've not saved yourself?
Exactly.
So now I just tell myself, you know what? When I can't handle something, I take a step back. I breathe, then go ahead. People will always have, put you on this level. They want you to do it quickly or do it this way or that way. But I've told myself it doesn't matter. What matters is me being fine and helping as many people as I can. So that's what is helping. And now that I want to gradually start speaking up again out there, I've already put these measures in place. And now I think I'll be able to handle it more properly. Of course, as the journey goes, as I keep moving in this whole journey and this path, there will be more of that, I know. But now I know how to handle it better. And hopefully I'll be okay.
Yes.
So that's why I said there are two sides to the coin.
Yeah, absolutely.
You being happy, but you being pressured as well.
Exactly, absolutely. And actually, the most important thing, I think, is you believe in your cause. You believe in what you're doing. And that should be the sort of, the holding thing, because that is what should drive you, right? Because you are doing a good course and you believe in the course that you're doing. And the most important thing, just go ahead and do it. So I think you're on the right path. You're doing amazingly well.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So how does it feel that you are now actually speaking on a lot of platforms? Can you tell me some of the platforms? Can you mention some of the platforms, international platforms that you're speaking on?
Okay, so international platforms, I'm trying to remember. So I would say that the most recent is the GCI. There was an alliance board meeting that was held just last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Is this in Senegal?
Dakar.
Was
Yeah,
this the one in Senegal?
yes, the one in Senegal.
Yes, yes, because I know you just came from Senegal.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So I was honored to be one of the people who gave opening remarks at the Alliance Board meeting, where stakeholders were, present, technical partners, funders, CSOs, ministries, youth, and everybody that's meant to be involved, in looking at what has happened over the years, impact that has been made, monitoring and evaluating areas that need improvement, and thinking about next steps. So that was one of them in Dakar. It was really amazing to be back to Dakar after a couple of years. I would say that I mentioned earlier, I spoke at the Y20 Summit in 2018 in Argentina. Y20 is the youth division of the G20. I also spoke at the One Campaign Champions Training Program, West Africa. It was in Dakar as well. Then I got to meet the Dalai Lama in 2018. I was humbled to go to India for the USIP, so United States Institute of Peace. They have this Generation Change Fellowship that is usually held in India, Dharamsala, where the Dalai Lama lives. I was one of those who were selected for it in 2018, and I met the Dalai Lama. I got to speak to a few media houses there as well, and got interviewed. A couple of other places that I've been to, Costa Rica, South Africa. South Africa was for the African Leadership Institute Youth Advisory Board meeting. I was part of the board for 3 years. Yes, and we came up with the project called Project Pakati. That's literally youth at the center. So ensuring that young people are actively and meaningfully participating in measures that should be put in place to push Africa forward in relation to the Agenda 2063. Then I've attended the Beijing Plus 25 meeting representing UN Women in Ethiopia. Yes, so I can't really recall every single one.
But that's a lot, and that is amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing what you have done.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. It's I can tell you, it's mind blowing. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. I read one of your articles. I'll quote what you write. You write, "I am from Nigeria, a country with great potentials, but also known to have a lot of challenges around peace, education, and gender discrimination." Can you tell me something more about this? You mentioned peace. What exactly are you referring to here?
So by peace, I mean, of course, stability, harmony, and an absence of violent conflict. And the reason I'll say violent conflict is because conflict in itself is not necessarily a bad thing. People have conflict within the family, within the social space, and all different institutions, but it's when it's violent that there's an issue. And of course, Nigeria, like I said, Nigeria is arguably one of the most amazing countries, I would say. I've been privileged to travel to many countries, but Nigeria, of course, is home. So there may be a bias to why I'll say it's one of the best. But then it's amazing, beautiful places, beautiful people. Our culture is so rich and diverse. Based on what I know, is that we have over 350 or 500 languages. That's a lot. We have many religions, so we're able to just have different diversity, and I think it's a beautiful thing. But on the flip side is where these things that are meant to make us appreciate one another are now the causes of so many issues, where if I'm not from this particular place or I don't speak same language, I'm now an enemy, So some of these things are reasons why I say that there's no much peace, Generally, I would say there could be, but we're far from there at the moment. And it's as a result of all these things, lack of tolerance, lack of seeing that. For me, there's this thing I always say that generally I don't know why these things exist, because we were all born into the families we were born into. We had no control over it. I had no say in being Nigerian.
Yes.
I had no say in being from the north. I had no say in the family I was born in. I just found myself there. Same with every single person in the world. So why then would I now make someone feel bad for what they had no control over? My religion that I practice, I was born into it. Over 70%, I'm not sure if it's correct, but I would say over 70% of people practice the religion they were born into. So you think it's the best because you were born into it. Maybe you grew into knowing it and getting so, attached to it, finding faith and finding God for yourself, obviously. Yes, but you were born into it most of the time. So why would you now say somebody else should be treated badly for what they were born into? Or I'm Marigi, that's my tribe, it's a small tribe in the north, and I would say you were not Marigi, so you are less than me. I was born into it, so I really don't understand why, not just my country, why the world, why there's a lot of all these issues, because we literally found ourselves where we are. So it doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
and that's why I say it's so sad that peace is not really in existence right now.
Yes.
I've forgotten this organization, but one of these statistics that I read said that Nigeria is one of the 10 most dangerous countries in terms of terrorism and all of that in the world,
Really?
which is really heartbreaking. Yes, I'm not certain how valid or if that is a verifiable report, but then it's just really sad that, it has gotten to that point where people have zero tolerance for each other. And that's why many of these things occur. And people say, okay, it's the older generation, but I can see it even in the young generation where something small happens online and you see everyone blows up and everyone starts building their whole camp. Or we from this side were against this other people. And it's just, if we want to really build the nation, if we want to really develop and grow, we have to set aside all these things and see ourselves as human beings first before any other categorization. Yeah. So that's just what I think.
That's a very, very good mindset to have, because you're right. You are born in the religion. You're born in that area. You can't change that. So why should that make you come into conflict with someone else coming from another part? So absolutely, absolutely, top respect, and that's a good mindset to have, I must admit. Yes.
Thank you.
You wrote, there's also another article that you wrote. You wrote, by the time I was 18, the infamous insurgency and terrorist attack by Boko Haram became more rampant. A lot of my family members and relatives were impacted by the terrorist group. Can you tell us more about this? What happened to your family and relatives?
So I would say that, of course, when I say family, it's not necessarily nuclear, but extended people related to me. And arguably, I would say my friends are family too. So being from the north, like I said, it's like different states have it on different levels. Some are more impacted than others. And my state of origin is in Northeast, and is one of the states that has been most heavily impacted by it. Thankfully, we were not there. We did not necessarily grow up there. But I remember then when we used to travel to the place for Christmas to see our grandparents and relatives. It was so beautiful and peaceful. I can remember when we used to even sleep outside, not in the house, but outside, set camps and just be happy. But now, it's all gone. Not even now, many years ago. So it's really tough knowing that a lot of people, have lost their lives and, property, and are forced to live in internally displaced people's camps. People who were doing decently well for themselves, maybe fishing, farming, just doing stuff, selling and buying. But now they have nothing. So now they're just solely dependent on aid, on support, on the next person who will bring food, the next person who will bring sleepers, things that were nothing to bother about before, they were not worried about. Now it's just all gone. Yeah. So imagine how that is impacting not just them physically, but mentally. I mean, imagine being very okay and then everything has been taken away from you. It's not, a good thing.
No.
So for us, knowing that some of our property and stuff were lost, to it, it was painful. But knowing that many more people lost like lives, literally. A lot of children are now orphaned because of it, their families. Some of them, because they had to flee because of the conflict, some of them don't even know where their families are. People are in different places. We go to camps sometimes where like some of them tell you, oh, we had to just run. We don't know where anybody is. So imagine how you're just thinking, where's my mom? Where's my dad? Where's my this and that?
Yes.
And sometimes living in so much fear because the next day you don't know what can happen. So that kind of life, it was tough. Of course, losing some family members as well, to it was really tough. But then it's just many times, this is a very, very complicated thing. But when you see at the root cause, you see things around extreme poverty.
Yes.
When people are impoverished, they become malleable, they become very, very frustrated, and they want to do anything and everything to survive. You see them now being recruited into all these groups,
yes,
being given just little amount of money to cause trouble, to become weapons of mass destruction.
yes.
Another thing is, I would say high level or high rate of illiteracy, where people now are malleable. Their mindsets can be, they can be tossed from left to right and all of that. Yes. So some of these things, of course, the bigger picture, you see, propaganda, you see people funding it and all at the top based on what you see. But the lower level, you see things around extreme poverty, illiteracy, and all of that build up and make people now just do anything.
Exactly.
And of course, greed, because why would you why do you want to amass so much wealth illegally, so selling weapons and all of that. So,
yes. So where do your parents live now? You say they don't live in northern Nigeria.
So they live in northern Nigeria, but in a safer place.
In a safer place.
I would say arguably a safer place.
Okay.
Arguably. I mean, everywhere has its own issues and
yes,
it can blow up, but I would say they're in a safer place. I still feel worried every now and then,
yes,
especially when you hear something has happened, your heart beats, and all. But, we just keep hoping for the best. Unfortunately, that's all we can do.
Yes.
Hope and pray.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And the Lord shall lead the way.
Amen.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the Aurora Prize hero. Just for the record, the Aurora Prize is an annual international humanitarian award. Mm-hmm. You wrote a letter to someone whom you call the Aurora Prize hero. Mm-hmm. Let me quote that letter. You write, I read about you on the Aurora Prize website. And so I write to sincerely thank you for inspiring me to do and be better, because I have never read about anyone like you. Tears literally ran through my cheeks while reading your story. You have made me realize that one can use whatsoever they have to touch as many lives as possible. Wow, this is deep moving. This person must have touched your heart for you to write this letter. Can you tell us more about this? Who was this person and why did you write the letter?
So if I recall, I think it was in 2016 or so I wrote it, and he was the award winner that year, Dr. Tom Katona, if I can remember his name properly. Yes. So he's originally white, of course. But he has spent, now it will be like 14 years, in Sudan. He went in 2008. So I'll say arguably 14 years. That's if he's still there. And it was just really amazing to see how somebody would sacrifice their life to ensure that, or give away their life. I think it means the same thing, to ensure that other people, live better lives. He's a doctor and could have as well just gone to maybe do to one of the best countries, get a lot of money, which isn't bad because, of course, people have bills to pay and people have lives to live. But then him saying he would go to a place in Sudan and really, I think, based on what I read as at then and even recently, they said he's the only practicing doctor in that place. So imagine how tough that would be, I don't know if he's paid at all, or even if he's paid, I don't know how much, but someone really saying, like, not minding not being comfortable again, letting go of the comfort he would get in his country, and the luxury and all of that, saying that, oh, he would go somewhere and help people. It was really amazing for me, and I was really thankful that he got the prize. And of course, a lot of people do things because they want to give back and they don't mind whether or not they're recognized, which is okay, but it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be recognized. People are doing a lot of brilliant and, audacious things, So he's one person that I would say was really amazing to see that he was doing that for people.
Yes.
It's not an easy thing at all, So I was really touched by his story, the hardships and the, difficulties around his job and around living in that region, but still doing it wholeheartedly.
And this was in Sudan.
Yes,
you say. He went
yes.
to be a doctor in Sudan.
Yes.
Did he reply that letter?
So I'm not certain he did.
Okay.
I don't know if he did, because the Aurora, body, they published the letter. I don't know if it got to him. I hope it did, but
Yes.
I don't recall getting like a direct feedback, But I just decided to write that because it was really amazing. For me, I believe in giving people their flowers while they're alive.
Yes.
Yes. Because a lot of times when people die, people start writing like episodes and writing so many things about them. And then I think one common thing I always say is, oh, I wish I told you this when you were alive. And I'm like, and then we keep repeating the same thing to many people. So I'm very expressive. That's one thing. Sometimes I feel I'm even too expressive, but I like to just say how I feel because I don't know what the next second holds for us.
Exactly. Yeah. I would say you have your heart in the right place. That's how I would describe it. Absolutely. No question about that.
Thank you. Yeah. So I like to just express when I am inspired by people, or when I'm motivated, or when they do something I find really amazing, really brave, really, inspiring. I tell them. If I have access to them directly, fine. If I don't, I write to them and hope that one day they see it. And I start from home because they say charity begins at home. So not me telling someone out there without telling my direct family and friends. So I tell them every now and then that you're amazing. Just, words of affirmation, they keep people going. They keep me going because when people remind me, especially when I feel like the worst, it keeps me going.
Yes.
So that's why I like to do it for other people as well.
I can understand you. That's a good point. That's absolutely a good point.
Thank you.
You've also been selected to be the delegate partnership of Africa Development. Can you tell us more about this?
Okay, so it's the Girls 20, right? The Girls 20. So I was one of the youth delegates in 2020. Yes. And so I was the delegate representing the NEPAD.
Yes.
And it's a summit where, of course, it's usually in person, but because of COVID, it was held virtually.
Yes.
So it's a summit that brings together women and girls who represent G20 countries.
Yes.
That's why it's called Girls 20. But then there are other slots for other bodies and a few other countries. For example, there's an EU, European Union representative, an African Union representative, and a few others. So that year was the first year that NEPAD was included. I was the delegate for NEPAD, and I think it stands for New Partnership for African Development. Yes, so at the summit we talked about the lived experiences of girls and women in all these countries and regions, and then helped to come up with a communique and recommendations that were presented to the G20 government, to talk about how to push, the interests and needs of women and girls, in terms of their foreign and national policies, in terms of trade, in terms of education and other aspects of, development to actualize Agenda 2030. For the SDGs. So that was what the summit was about, and I got to represent NEPAD.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you also mention in some of the articles that you write that you have learned never to take no for an answer. Now, when I look at your journey, it's been a tough journey, but very successful journey. But you mentioned that one should not take no for an answer. Can you tell us more about that? Where did you get a no, or where did you have the hindrance, but you still moved on?
I would say I've had hindrance like all my life, in terms of maybe wanting something or wanting to access opportunities, and they're like, no. Some of the time they try to give excuses or explanation, but sometimes it doesn't make sense. And other times,
who tries to give
maybe
explanations?
maybe even from childhood, for example. I was always a child who just wanted something done. I just wanted to push, and for example, in school, maybe because of the whole bias and stereotypes where, oh, a boy should lead, a girl should, and I'm like, why? Why should, So I always used to just, that resistance and that push, like, why? So growing up, it continued to be that way, and I just like to challenge things. I'm not certain that I challenge it so vocally but subtly, but I still make my stance that no, this is what I want and all of that. So why I say that don't take no for an answer is because, I always say this, that life does not always give us what we desire or deserve. It gives us usually what we demand. And so if it's about what we deserve, all good people will live happy lives and healthy lives and good lives and peaceful lives, but it's not so. And if it's what we desire, just sit down and your dreams will come true kind of stuff. But that's not reality. But usually what you demand, what you ask for, is not always the case, but you have a higher chance of getting that thing done. So not taking no for an answer is because I've received a lot of rejection mails because I try to apply for a lot of stuff, try to reach out for opportunities. I still do, but I always say that if you don't try, you have zero chance of getting it. But if you try, you have at least some percentage or some probability of getting something. So when people are like, oh, you're so amazing and special, I'm like, maybe, but maybe I just like to try things and that's why things get done,
Yes.
So not taking no for an answer is that even when I get rejection mails, I feel bad, I sit down, sometimes even cry because it hurts. But I don't let it affect me. A knockdown is not a knockout. You stand up and keep pushing. You have to just keep pushing because that's what life is about. So even when I get those rejections, I look for the next thing. Sometimes it's weird that I could get like 2 or 3 rejection emails and the next 5 minutes I get better and I'm on to the next application. I would even give an example of my scholarship. I got a Chevening scholarship.
To come here,
yes,
to
for
London.
a master's.
Yes.
No, I school in Brighton. So you
Yes.
choose the school you want, and I chose University of Sussex.
Yes.
Because I'm studying international education and development.
Yes.
And Sussex ranks #1 in the world for development studies. So I had to choose that.
Exactly, yeah.
And so I remember when I applied for this scholarship, few days before, I got nothing less than 7 rejection emails from different organizations and different programs. Nothing less than 7. I sat down, I'm like, if all these people are saying no, what is the chance that Chevening, a whole Chevening, that's the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office, of the UK. I'm like, if all these organizations are saying no, what is the chance or the likelihood that I'll get this? I felt bad, I cried, I went out that day, I remember just feeling bad. Came back, I kept looking at the application. Should I? Because the application is quite rigorous, not too rigorous, but quite. You write like 2,000 word essays. There are 4 main questions, answer 500 words each. You give many documents, references and all. So it's quite rigorous.
To apply for the scholarship.
Of course, because it's fully funded, so you would have to work for it.
Exactly, yeah.
So I kept looking at it.
Nothing comes for free.
Nothing.
Yes.
And I kept looking. I'm like, And I applied, I struggled because I wasn't sure I was ready for another no. But I told myself, you've had like many no's, so another one wouldn't hurt, right?
Exactly.
So just try. And I remember applying like just few hours. before the deadline, just few hours before I clicked submit, and look at, I'm here.
You're
So
here, yeah.
if I didn't try, I wouldn't know what would have happened, but at least I tried. And even if it didn't work, in my heart I know I tried and I keep moving.
Exactly.
So that's the mindset of not taking no for an answer.
Exactly.
You get one door is closed doesn't mean every other door is closed.
Absolutely.
And sometimes when doors are closed, they're not necessarily locked. You just need to push and open.
Exactly.
So that's just the mindset that I have.
Yes, that's an amazing mindset to have.
Thank you.
Now, with that mindset, what would you advise others around the world?
So I don't know what advice to give, but I would just say naturally from my experience, like, life is tough. I don't like to, there's this thing I always say, people always like drag motivational speakers. And I think I have a personal, I don't feel good like that, because sometimes I think I could be one, but I get where it's coming from, where sometimes it's just not realistic what they say, all these like cliche things and all.
The so motivational speakers.
Sometimes they can be very cliche, But I would say what I would say if to answer your question of an advice is that life is tough. We cannot, we cannot ignore that reality. And life is not fair. That's another reality that I've accepted. However, because you are not in control of what happens to you, doesn't mean you cannot control the outcomes or how you choose to view that thing. So you can choose to see it from a different perspective, and turn it around, refine it and transform it for your own good. And then breathe. That's one word I would say. And I've been living by it recently, where there's a lot of chaos happening in the world, a lot of uncertainties, a lot of things happening, from COVID to war to just so many things. So there's a lot happening. So yes, we want to achieve our goals. We want to be on Forbes list. We want to be on Time magazine. All those beautiful things. Yeah, but just breathe. It will all work out, hopefully. And just take life one step at a time. That's one thing I'm doing. I have all those many goals, but I'm telling myself that if I don't take care, I would not even be healthy enough to enjoy when these things come. So breathe, take time, live, enjoy life. I mean, you will still achieve those goals, but just strike a balance, basically. Yes. And in whatever we do, let's not forget that a lot of people need that love, that care, that laugh, that hug. So in changing the world, you don't need to necessarily be like Nelson Mandela or Malala or Mother Teresa or all those people. Sometimes it's just smiling or helping someone with something little, a little task. So not everybody's name will be written in stone and all those things they say. But as long as within your community, you know that, you're doing what you can, somebody's life is better because of you. That's what matters. I think, like, since I've not been, for the past few years where I've been away from being out there so much, it has given me a chance to reflect on many things. And maybe my name will be written in stone and maybe not. Whatever the outcome will be, it doesn't matter as long as I know that people's lives are going to be touched because of me. So make sure you're a genuine person, on camera or off camera. Yes. Make sure what you speak about, you're doing it even behind closed doors. Yes. Because sometimes those are the places where it matters. So I think that's the advice that I would give.
Yes, yes. Literally walk the talk.
Absolutely.
And not talk the walk.
Yes,
right?
Walk the talk.
Yeah,
that's it.
Exactly.
And just be happy.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. That's very, very powerful.
Thank you.
So is there anyone in particular that you would like to thank? Mm-hmm. Anyone?
So there are many people. I can't say everybody, but the first I would say, this would sound cliche, but it's dear to my heart. I always say I thank God, because I'm human. There are times that I just have a lot of questions to ask, or sometimes I'm like, why is this world the way it is? God, why this and that, But I thank God because in my journey, I've seen God really play a huge role, I know where I'm coming from, and it's not a good place, yes. In terms of some of the struggles I've had to have, or go through, at 2, I suffered from a 3rd-degree burn, and just so many other hardships that some I'm confident to talk about, some I'm not yet even confident to talk about, and just so many trials in life, but every day I wake up, I'm like, wow, God, thank you.
Yes.
Even for giving me this opportunities that I have. You know, there are many other people that, you know, are more deserving, if I would say. But I just thank God. That's the first person I would say. Will I call him a person? Yeah. Yeah, God.
Yeah, yeah.
Then I'll thank my family. My family, they're amazing, you know. My parents, my siblings. I'm grateful for my family because they've kept me going. They've supported me. I know where there are times that I need something and they come through. Sometimes the opportunity, because of course being Nigerian is amazing, but sometimes because of how this whole global thing works, you know, to travel is difficult. Because having a Nigerian passport, sometimes to travel you need to show proof of almost everything. You need drug clearance, you need police report and all. Sometimes the travel is so close and I don't know how to do it. When I was going to Thailand, when I was going to many other countries that I can't even remember, you know, I needed some documents within a short period of time and I didn't know how to get it. And my parents always had a way to help, sometimes help to calm me down, pray for and with me. My siblings always cheering me on. I think they're more proud of me than I am of myself because any opportunity to like say, oh, their sisters, they're just amazing and they keep me going.
Yeah.
And even when in those still moments where I don't even want to do anything, they're always there as well.
Yeah.
So I'll thank my family. I'll thank my friends. They're like real G's, I would say.
Yeah.
They always support me, celebrate me. Before I came to school, they threw like a surprise party for me to show how they're proud of me. They always just keep me going. When the foundation started, they came through. We did photo shoot, made shirts for the foundation. They always use their platforms to spread the word of what I do, what the organization does, and I'm grateful. Any opportunity to celebrate me, they do. I would also like to thank organizations and individuals, you know, that continue to believe in me and give me opportunities and help me grow as an individual and also support the organization, Wadi Ben-Hirki Foundation. I'm thankful because, you know, over the years, I wouldn't say I would be where I am, you know, although I have a long way to go, but I wouldn't say I'll be where I am or would make as much impact as we've had if we've not had people who have maybe bet on us literally and say that, you know, let's support this cause, let's support this person. So the organizations, I can't stop mentioning because if I start, I may miss out some and, you know, so I would just rather say I'm grateful, you know, to those organizations, you know, both the local, regional, national, and international ones that continue to just believe in me and my cause and give me opportunities. And those individuals in different capacities, you know, mentors, coaches, and just sometimes even people I don't necessarily know, but just believe so much in what we do and just reach out. Sometimes with amazing positive words to keep me going. Sometimes they'll send links that, oh, we saw this and we think you're a good fit. I mean, just people looking out for you, you know. So, I mean, in a nutshell, I would say literally everyone. And even you, so like people like you who reach out to like, you know, just hear my story and, you know, come up with such amazing interviews, help me speak my truth, and also to put it out there for more people to hear and to watch. I mean, I'm just grateful, you know, to every single person who has helped me to get to this place and who helped me to continue in this journey. So I'm just thankful.
Yes, yes. It's a great honor for me. You should know this, that it's a really great honor for me to actually get the opportunity to interview you. I think you're an amazing person. Your story is mind-blowing. It's so deep-moving. It's so amazing. Yeah. I thank you so much for participating in this interview and for agreeing to participate in this interview. And may God bless you.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Very welcome.